Baldi's Basics was more famous than Kim Kardashian's sex tape back in 2018, soon after the release by Mistman 12. The main purpose of the game is to collect 7 notebooks and then find your way out of the school, while an angry teacher named Baldi is trying to follow you. So I decided to challenge myself by making this game, but RTX is on. I mean, how hard can it be, right? It's gonna be an easy task. It's not gonna take me that long. It's gonna be... Alright, so first I gotta make Baldi's character, but the problem is, I'm not very good at designing characters. In fact, I fucking suck at designing characters. I mean, I fucking suck at everything in general, but I'm even worse when it comes to designing characters. So I opened Make Human, which is a free software for creating characters. Now that the character is done, I'm gonna boot up Unity, which is my engine of choice for this project. The game has one single static map, so I have to search Google to find a good reference for building the map. After I found a pretty decent reference, I started using Pro Builder inside Unity to make the map. Then I went to AmbientCG.com, previously known as CC0Texture.com, to grab some high quality textures to use. Check them out, they got great stuff. Now I'm gonna fuck around with RTX to find the best lighting settings. Basically, I'm gonna use ray tracing for global illumination, ambient occlusion, and reflection. Since the map is bigger than the failures in your love life, I can't use RTX to fully light up the entire fucking scene because, you know, it'll burn your computer. So I gotta do a forbidden and fear technique called baking lights. If you don't know what baking lights means, it means the engine generates something called a light map, which then is projected on the entire map and it feels like the map is lit, while in fact it's just a texture. So to do so, first I gotta set up the entire map and mark non-moving objects as static. These objects should not move whatsoever. If they do move afterwards, it'll fuck up the light map and turn everything black. I set up some lamps in the hallway. These lights are baked, which means they do nothing on runtime, but rather they are only used in the baking process to generate light in the light map. To make the environment even spookier, I made a few lamps flick on and off, and obviously I had to switch them from baked to runtime, since they are not gonna act static. And here's the result. I'm pretty happy with it. Now the place also needs a roof, but there's a problem bigger than your parents' marriage over here, which is the yard. I want the yard to be roofless, just like my dad when he was beating me. So I set up some alpha texture in Photoshop and made a shader inside Unity. If you don't know what an alpha texture is, it basically tells the engine what parts of the surface should be rendered. Now that the lighting is set, it's time to bake the light map.
2,000 years later.
And the process took longer than me when I want to satisfy my partner. I mean, the computer was on for 3 fucking days just baking lights, and I couldn't even do anything with the PC. This is also blamable on me since I wanted the game to look perfect. So I set the engine to calculate 220 million texels. If you don't know what texel is, just fucking Google it. I ain't your teacher. Don't expect me to explain everything to your lazy ass. When the process was done, I didn't want to be anywhere near the engine for a while, so I decided to use Mixamo to set up some animations for Baldi. And then I went back to Ambient CG to grab some textures for Baldi, and here he is. Then I quickly baked a nav mesh path, which allows Baldi, the girl, and the detention guy, and every other NPC in general to move around in the map. This baking process, however, didn't take that long. It finished almost as soon as me during 6. Now that the map is done, it's time to make a character controller script and a flashlight. I quickly modeled a flashlight inside Blender and added some light to it. Check out this cool door I made inside Unity with Pro Builder. I placed this door all around the map. Then I animated Baldi and made him slap his hand with a ruler. Totally not a flashback to my childhood. And then I coded him so that he follows you. But the following isn't a simple process, because Baldi teleports slowly towards you. It doesn't just follow you constantly. So I made an invisible naked woman following you around, and I made Baldi teleport to her location every 4 seconds. And don't you horny bastards even try, you're never gonna see what the fine naked lady looks like. Yeah, that's right, die in lust. To make it even smoother, I made Baldi teleport to 4 different places the naked lady used to be on her way following you, so it doesn't feel like Baldi just unnaturally jumps on you, you know. I think it makes it a little cooler. I also made a locking system so the player can lock the door and the NPCs have to find another way to reach you. Now, in the original game, there's this guy following you around telling you not to run in the hallway. which makes the game even harder since you have to run away from Baldi faster than you're running away from your responsibilities. I didn't feel like modeling the guy myself, so instead I once again went to Mixamo and downloaded one of the free characters from there. Then I just added a running animation to him on the spot. Baldi's Basics is also famous for having this obnoxious, annoying little bitch following you around and asking you to play with her. So I downloaded a free elementary school girl model and I programmed her to follow you around. I also made a rope model in Blender. Then I wrote a script for both the girl and the clown to follow random points in the map, follow you under certain conditions, and randomly decide to stay in place if they reach the point in the map and you're far away enough from them. Now we need a detention system, which teleports you to a class and disables you from leaving the classroom as long as the detention time is not over. I added a cute little text on the top to show the remaining detention time. Then I made the clown follow you and trigger the detention if he gets near enough. I also worked a little more on the detention time text. The girl should play with you and the clown should trigger the detention. Wait, what the fuck? Yo. As I said, the clown should trigger the detention. Now it's about time we make the calculator system. In the original game, you should collect 7 books, each of which contain 3 math questions. If you answer them correctly, nothing happens, but the game gets harder each time you make a mistake. It's basic maths at first, then the question becomes unreadable and unsolvable. If you answer them correctly, nothing happens, but the game gets harder each time you make a mistake. So Baldi won't follow you as long as you make no mistakes, which is impossible since only the first 5 questions are solvable. So I designed a calculator inside Photoshop, then I imported it into Unity and made it trigger Baldi every time you make a mistake. Then Unity started to stop behaving and the editor's behavior became questionable. Now for the UI. The original game has a stamina bar, a coin icon, a chocolate bar icon, and a keys icon. So I decided to paint them with charcoal, and if that's not enough to make you subscribe, then I don't know what is. The paintings were black and white and grey since they were painted with charcoal, so I had to color them inside of Photoshop. And you know what else is grey? The subscribe button. After you click on it, do it, please. I first tried to make the stamina bar working with masking, but I struggled too much. So I just decided to make a shader, and kaboom, the stamina bar is now magically working. I put together the UI, and I wrote a code to make them darker to show that they're unavailable. So take a chocolate bar as an example. It's fully bright and colored when it's available, and grey when you have none of it. Now Baldi's Basics has this thing called soda cans, which pushes back the NPCs when they are following you. So I made the gas particles using Unity's VFX graph, and they also happen to be working pretty well, which is good. Then I designed the books, and here is a book and the calculator system in action. As you may have noticed, I added an extra feature to the game, which is this little pill thingy over here. Keep in mind, this is a school in Ohio, so everyone really carries some sort of drugs around there. But the original game, however, didn't take this 100% legit fact into account, because the game is PG-13. But this is leak note, nothing is family friendly over here. So what happens when you take this pill, you may ask? Well, magical things. You start seeing stuff brighter, you get some sort of motion blur. I basically implemented acid, but as a pill. However that works. Oh, this is fun. Whoa, 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 whoa. What the fuck is going on? I also had to add 3D objects of the inventory to the map so the player could pick them up. So I quickly made the models inside Blender, then I wrote a script to make them fly around in map. Now every good game has a good pause menu, and since this game is about a school, I decided to download and use a chalkboard font for the pause menu. And I quickly put together a pause menu UI, and now everything pauses as soon as you press the escape button on your keyboard. In the original game, when Baldi reaches you, it's game over. But I decided to make it more spicy by making Baldi beat you up with his ruler when he reaches you. Like I said, this game isn't PG-13, and nor is this YouTube channel. We're all grown-up gangsters in the hood. After adding the losing system to the game, the losing system is perfect with no bugs. As I said, the jump scare should be working perfectly fine. There we go. In the original game by Missman12, the game doesn't just start with Baldi following you around and the environment being darker than your childhood. It actually doesn't even appear to be a horror game at first, because at first you only have access to 2 classrooms and Baldi kinda just stands there and watches you and even gives you a coin as a prize. So I started to implement this system. I downloaded a nice free jazz music, and now here's what the first scene looks like. Flashlight is a system that I have implemented which doesn't exist in the original game, since it's not even fucking dark in the original game, but I think I'm being too nice with the player by giving the player a flashlight. I want the player to suffer, so I decided to add batteries to the game. I quickly designed the UI in Photoshop, and I made the batteries in game harder to find than Osama bin Laden. Then I wrote a draining system for the flashlight, and with all that out of the way, I started making a controls help menu thingy, I guess. And with that, I put together the main menu. With a decent looking interactive main menu and a nice losing system, I think we're close to being finished. But there's a small problem, which is the winning system. In the original game, you win by collecting all books and escaping through one of the many doors. And as much as I hate to give the player the satisfaction of not feeling like a loser for a split second, I kinda need to implement the winning system, so I added an invisible wall for each door. When you collect all books, one of the doors work and the others are just decoys, and as soon as you get near them, they will be disappeared and then replaced by a wall. I then wrote a script for winning and then put together a nice winning celebration screen. Then I started to quote unquote polish the game and get rid of the few bugs in the game. And to make the game even better, I added some sound effects. I wanted the game to be even more fun though. For example, imagine if the clown had a dialogue line, but whose dialogues should I use? Who does he resemble? An angry, bald guy.
Who's successful now? I'm breathing and you're not, so I'm more successful than you.
The game is now available for download in the description. Keep in mind though, as soon as the original developer contacts me and wants me to remove this game, he will have every right to do so. So if you don't find the download link in the description, that'll probably be the reason why. This game generates zero profit for me, and I only remade it for fun. That's it for me though. If you like my content, feel free to drop a like and subscribe. According to YouTube statistics, I don't fucking have YouTube statistics, since I have literally 0 subscribers, and your subscription will multiply that number by infinity. Here's the math. So your sub matters. Follow me on Twitter as well if you wanna see more updates. Have a nice one, fuckers.